Are you a human being? Are you also a Browns fan? Well, if you said yes to both of those things, then there's a good chance you're probably a little tired of our local Cleveland Brown sports media. Same old thing, day after day, night after night. It's time to hang the cleats up. It's time to pass the torch. If you're looking for something fun, something fresh, something where four people literally smack themselves in the face over and over with hot take after hot take, then my boys at Down with the Browns is where you want to be. It's just good for your soul. Available on Apple Podcast, YouTube, and Twitter. Getting down with the Browns. Let's go.
And welcome back to another episode.
LeBron
of
gets down with the
Browns. What is up, guys?
Woo!
What is up? If you cannot see it, Mac has a sign that says "F you, Art Modell," and that's a fact. So, boys, how we feeling after that huge dub?
That was great. But as much as I want to celebrate it, it is Ravens week, right? It's one of those division games. It's circled on the calendar. We look at it every time that we play the schedule game. And, when Lamar Jackson plays a full game, Kevin Stefanski is yet to beat him. Now, things are different this year. I know for a fact that Jim Schwartz and the boys are going to come to play like they have every single week this year. But, Lamar is one of those guys to where you have to game plan with him. You can't just run your same old defense that you're running out for the past several weeks, because he's a completely different player. New rules apply. The way how you keep your gap integrity on defense, the way how you contain, the way how you just rush the passer. You can't normally do it, against Lamar that you do with other quarterbacks, just because he is a human joystick. And with as many injuries as they have, yes, of course, you can point to it and say, okay, well, this guy's out for a couple weeks, and we're not sure if this guy is going to play. Well, even then, it's the Ravens, so they got to be ready to play.
But boys, let's just recap week 3 real quick before we do get into the week 4 matchup versus the Baltimore Ratbirds. So the defense had a dominant outing, did not even allow a total of 100 yards to the Tennessee Titans. Score was 27-3. Our boy Deshaun finally showed up. And, the running game looked decent without Nick Chubb. First game without Chubb. Looked all right. Jerome Ford had 2 touchdowns himself. The defense showed up. Myles Garrett with 3.5 sacks. Them boys were locking it down in the secondary, eating it up in the run game. So, guys, we'll start with you, Zach. What was one thing that stood out versus the Titans?
God, there was a lot that stood out to me as a team that over the past, I'd say since this rebirth of the Cleveland Browns, since the Baker Mayfield draft, so we'll say 2018-ish, we have had a lot of these games where we get mopped up, or not mopped up, but just have a bad taste in your mouth and then come out next week and lay an egg. And I mean, I can name games last year. I can name games the year before. It just happens to us, and it always has. And to see Kevin Stefanski and the boys on offense respond the way that they did after that poor of an outing in Pittsburgh was very, very interesting. I'll say that, because I haven't seen that in a long time. Probably maybe since the Derek Anderson year in 2007, was it? Yeah, probably since then and maybe our playoff year, which even then we had a really easy schedule. I mean, we played a lot of bad football teams, but I thought it was awesome. We always get all fancy and we talk about, Myles Garrett, and we talk about, Denzel Ward and Grant Delpit and all these guys. I got to tell you, man, the guy to watch that needs to be just praise for how big of a disruptor he is inside is Maurice Hurst. I mean, this guy has come on big time. Was he a practice squad body in San Francisco or something where, playing under a really good defensive regime there, but the fact that he could come in and is as disruptive as he is in the run game and even in the pass game, I mean, is one of those like diamonds in the rough that we needed, because Dalvin Tomlinson could go down, and then Shelby Harris could go down. And who are we stuck on? Someone like Jordan Elliott? But we now know that we have 3 bona fide defensive tackles that we can rely on to stop the run and pop them in and just not let boys score. And no angry runs from Derrick Henry.
Yeah, for sure. Jake, what was something that stood out to you in this game versus the Titans?
Well, a couple of things, really. I will be honest. This game for me made up for the 2019 season opener. I remember that year because Freddie Kitch was our coach, and we had all of this offseason hype with Odell, with Baker in his first full season as a starter. We thought that was going to be the year. We get to the AFC Championship game. Yeah. We get ready to play the Titans week 1. We think we're going to wipe the floor with them. That opening drive was perfect. And then we have 18 penalties, and we lose the game 43-13. The Titans didn't have to do anything. We gave them the win because they traveled through the field so much because of our penalties. And they won the game 43-13. Talk about a huge letdown. Now, this year was the opposite because we just went off of a very bad loss to the Steelers, and Chubb went down, and we thought, could our season potentially be in shambles? What's going to happen this year? We're confused. We're uncertain of what's going to happen with the Cleveland Browns, and they come out and get a statement win, which is essentially the opposite of what happened in 2019. So that was the first thing that stood out. The second one that stood out for me was stuck out like a sore thumb, and that was just Jed Wills. The guy is continuously getting worse and worse at his position. I hate to say it like that. I don't want to be the person that says it, but the fact of the matter remains. If you look at his PFF grade, it's not that great. There's tons of tackles that are ahead of him. We were even talking about it before the show started. There are certain players that are on the top 30 right now that were Cleveland Browns former players, and they are ahead of Jed, which I feel like is quite embarrassing. Yeah, Chris Hubbard's one of them. Yeah, and Kendall Lamb. Let that one sink in. Yeah, that doesn't feel good to me at all. I'm sorry. It hurts.
Tell us how you really feel.
So that was my good and bad, truthfully. So there you go.
All right. You, DM. Let's hear it.
Oh, man. Let me tell you, I think, and Zach touched on it, is to be able to have such a soul-sucking loss to the Steelers in so many ways. Not only did we give them 14 points, not only did we lose the heart and soul of that team in that game and lose in heartbreaking fashion at the end, but to be able to rebound from that and basically put forth such a dominant performance. So I have thoroughly enjoyed going and watching the Tennessee Titan media, especially the YouTube media, and watching their videos that they made after that game. And literally most of them are saying that is the worst game they've ever seen the Titans play. Now, most people would think that's because Ryan Tannehill and oh my gosh, Derrick Henry, we just had horrible games, but that just wasn't the case. The Browns forced that destruction on them, and to see them bounce back from such a horrific Pittsburgh Steelers game that was everything to me. That shows the resilience of this team. That shows the culture is in place and it's real. It's not just fake hype. That shows that the coaches and leadership on that team have a great finger on the pulse of these guys, and they know how to keep them from getting too high, and they definitely know how to keep them from getting too low right now. Because let me tell you, all of us got low after that one. You know? one of us was feeling in the dumps. And somehow the Browns on a short week were able to rebound, get it together, and put forth a dominant performance. Derrick Henry, when they showed him at the end of the game and he was sitting on the bench talking to somebody, I would love to know what they were saying, because I guarantee Derrick Henry was probably like, dude, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know what just happened, but it just seemed like he never got off, and the Browns just wouldn't allow it. And it was just so great to see for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How about you, Mac?
Well, I mean, you know, it's one thing to blow out a team, but it's one thing to blow out a team that's extremely well coached. You know, I put out that tweet a couple days ago that this is the first time that Mike Vrabel has been held under 150 yards since 2017. And I mean, since then he's been very good with the Titans. I mean, he barely missed the playoffs last year. But something that really stuck out to me is, even though they couldn't get the run game going, now I think it was a little bit of Jerome Ford missing time in camp. You know, you could see it on the very first two plays. He tripped up Watson on the bootleg, and then he ran into Elijah Moore on the other play action play. So, you know, he's still trying to get used to the timing of this offense. But, you know, I'm not even going to touch. And I mean, you guys saw that clip I texted you the other day about Jed Wills. He completely missed going.
I'm no
going
longer
up next
saying
level.
his name anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about Jed Wills anymore.
We're going to refer to him as 7-1.
Yeah, 7-1 from now on.
He doesn't
7-1.
He doesn't even get that respect to have 7-1 as his name.
Yeah, you're right, Zach.
What are we calling him?
I don't know. But
He's just
that guy.
He's that guy.
He who shall
That
not be
guy.
named.
yeah,
We'll give him the Voldemort treatment. But you know, even though they couldn't get the run game going, the extension of the pass was there, and it was beautiful to see. It's something that we've been begging for years, because I don't know how many Browns games that I've watched where the defense has stopped the run entirely, and the Browns just couldn't figure out how to get the ball out quickly to their receivers. This is the third week in a row where 40% of the total passing yards came after the catch. So we got the ball out to our playmakers, and they were out making plays. I mean, you know, Elijah Moore got the ball and did some damage after the catch, as well as Pierre Strong and Kareem Hunt. So there was a lot of guys. And I mean, Jerome Ford once again got involved on the passing game, which I didn't know till Sunday that he used to be a wide receiver. That was one hell of a sluggo route. And I mean, you know, the linebacker had no idea where he was.
Oh, blew right by him.
Yeah.
You know,
he was open by 15 yards.
So I just saw this comment by Drew, and he said, "Speaking of tweets, we will let the listeners know, if you have not already saw, we did make a hypothetical tweet, because there is some, you know, where there's smoke, there's fire, and a disgruntled man out in Las Vegas might be requesting a trade. Might be requesting. So you know how we are on Twitter. We ask questions. We like to see what the people think. So we tweeted that, and we got a very kingly response. And by that, I mean we got a response from the King, LeBron James.
Show it.
Oh, I didn't get it. I haven't uploaded it. But if you want to go, if you don't believe us, go look at Twitter. You can see it from the King's page himself. Because it's the people listening. There'll be people listening off Apple Podcast and Spotify and stuff like that. There's more than people that watch it live. But yeah.
Huge honor. Huge.
Yeah, I went nuts when I woke up this morning and I saw that.
Christian, can I say something real quick?
Let's hear it.
I don't think that people understand, like, especially with our Twitter account, I don't think they understand the thought and the work that you guys put into that. And I would like to shout out the creativity, the consistency that you guys tweet. And it's always something that's engaging. It's always something that usually strives a conversation
or pisses people
off.
And I
think that's noteworthy. That's brilliant stuff. And it just shows if LeBron takes the time to do something like that, it must have captivated him in some way. And that's congrats to you guys.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Appreciate it, DM. Appreciate it. But yeah. Oh, going back to week 3, I will say how I did watch this game. I watched it in the dressing room for a wedding that I was in. So it was interesting trying to actually watch the game. But the part of the game that I did get to watch, very impressive. You finally got to see a non-robotic Kevin Stefanski, I feel like. I actually saw this man run onto the field and attempt to chest bump Deshaun Watson. And that is the most emotion I've ever seen this man have. Like, I've never
Yeah.
seen this guy even show a smirk other than, like, off the field. To see him actually have emotion on the field, that is something. And for Deshaun Watson to ball out like he did, I mean, there was a few plays like the one like where he just tries to
Wait,
like
threw it
lateral it
backwards?
back. Yeah,
What
that
was
one
wrong
was
with that
kind of
play?
yeah.
That's
Luckily-
better than an interception, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah,
know.
I don't understand that play. But, overall offense looked really good it just upward. I mean, there's always room for improvement, but glad to see our offense finally show up for our defense because our defense is Super Bowl-esque.
It is Super
But-
Bowl. Hey, can I give you some stats on it, Christian?
Let's hear it.
So,
Yeah.
You want to talk about the dominant defensive performances? I mean,
Talk that talk, DM.
3.8 yards per attempt in passing is
Mhm.
ridiculous.
That
First in
is.
the league.
Yeah.
335 total passing yards allowed. You face Joe Burrow and a Steelers team. 335 for the season, first in the league. 14 first downs through the air over 3 games, first in the league.
Yeah.
Rushing 2.8 yards per carry is second to the Titans by like 1.1 yard per carry. No rushing TDs given up this year. Only 5 first downs on the ground given up this year. 32 points allowed, was first in the league. But it's even worse than that. Take off 14 that we gave the Steelers, and it's ridiculously low. I mean, the way that they are doing this, and I know I've said it a million times, but it is absolutely ridiculous how they are dominating. And all we need Deshaun to do is play efficient football and do not turn the ball over, and we can win every game.
Well said.
Yeah, that's a fact. I mean, the defense is showing up, being very dominant. Something I've never seen from a Browns defense or any defense actually since I've watched football. Just mind-boggling. Actually, it's like a Madden defense. Like how shut down this defense
crazy.
is. But do you guys hear that?
Wait,
I hear some steam getting blowed. That sounded bad.
look at that smile.
It's the Angry Buffalo Hour.
Let's go.
Imagine being engulfed by envy-filled rage over a podcast tweet. Couldn't be me. This is Mac with the Angry Buffalo Hour. Good evening, Browns fans. I come to you not only angry, but anxious. Of course, last Sunday had me feeling good as the entire Tennessee Titans had their pants pulled down publicly as they were spanked in a 24-point blowout. Of course, this was great seeing Derrick Henry getting tackled in the backfield quicker than KFC shotgunning an energy drink after saying he quit the stuff for good. But it's a new week and the Ravens are coming to town. It sounds silly to loathe the sports team as I've never met or known anybody on the team or within the organization. Yet every time I see purple and black, I feel the same rage I feel when someone cuts me off in traffic or drinks my last beer. This is, of course, because the man who ripped the bones of this organization out of Cleveland and implanted it in the armpit of the Northeast, Baltimore, Maryland, Art Modell. My only saving grace is Broke Boy Art was hated enough to be kept out of the Hall of Fame year after year. Well, it also did make me smile when the guy who publicly urinated on his grave got the charges dropped. Fast forwarding to now, in the Stefanski era, the Browns have never beaten Lamar Jackson when he plays the entire game. He even once crapped his pants in the fourth quarter, Paul Pierce style, then led 2 game-winning drives after coming back from the locker room. Sure, this Ravens team is ravaged by injuries, but Stefanski's offense hasn't passed for 250 net yards in the last 4 outings. And the Browns' rushing attack last week was so bad they couldn't get a first down with a 5-yard head start. This is a new year, and it seems like Deshaun Watson has this offense clicking. Hopefully Cleveland comes out with a win this week because with the bye next week, I'd rather try dating apps again before seeing overreactions to a Browns loss on Twitter. This is Mac with the Angry Buffalo Hour.
Let's go, Mac.
Boy,
Let's go. Look at that smile.
Also, I do want to shout out my friend Adam, who gave me this last year. It's the original voting sign from when the Browns were trying to petition Art from taking the team out of the city. So this is something, now granted, it's seen its best years. And if anybody can restore poster board, please let me know. But probably one of the coolest
Drew
things
can.
that I have in my sports memorabilia collection.
Got you. That is sick, actually. Very sick.
Nice.
But I don't know if you guys are insured or not, but we do have some insured trivia from Jake at StatFar.
All right. So
Let's get you. We'll get you on the screen.
now I could, excuse me, I could ask a lot about the Browns and Ravens rivalry. We could talk about anything from the moment the Cleveland Browns expansion era started, from before the original team moved. But I'm going to ask something simple, but it can get a little tricky. So be sure you listen to the question carefully and think about it carefully. Who kicked the last game-winning field goal for the Browns against the Ravens?
I'm gonna raise my
Go ahead,
hand.
Christian.
Is it Phil Dawson?
It is not Phil Dawson.
Hmm.
I think it's Zane
So,
Gonzalez.
so when you mean game winning, does it mean
Let's say
in a
Austin
game that they
Seibert.
won, or the game
Yes.
was tied, they were losing, and he kicked it?
Like a game that it was a kick. Let me say it like this: the kick won the game. Does that make any sense?
It
Won the
does.
game?
A game winner.
Game winner, yeah.
Austin Seibert.
And I will give you a hint. The game was tied.
Oh, it's
And
third
he-
leg Greg. It was Greg Joseph. Yes.
It was third leg Greg. Good job, Matt.
Yeah, it
Way
was
to go,
in OT
Mac.
2018 because Baker led that
Oh my
game-winning
gosh.
drive. It was
How
a
do you
big
fit
catch.
all of that into that
Derek-
little head?
I forgot
Yeah,
that there was the
so-
it was the field goal. Okay.
Yes.
It was the week. It was the week after the big Jets win, and they were still wearing their
Right,
color
right,
rush
right, right.
jerseys. It was the big pass to Derek Willis, and it was
Yeah.
this dude that was like
Yes.
6'5" from the practice squad, let him all the way down, and that was the same game that like Denzel Ward went off. He blocked that field goal and had that
Yes.
interception. That
Yeah.
was a crazy.
It was
game.
also
I totally
one
forgot
of
about
the-
How
that.
do you remember all
It
that?
was
I can't
terrible
remember what
weather.
happened.
So that was the
Like,
Ricky Seals Jones game?
No.
No.
That was
Derek
2019.
Willis.
Derek Willis.
Derek Willis.
Yeah.
That and even with all of that Max said, that was probably the ugliest Browns Ravens game ever. Like
I don't
that
think
was
there was a
a
single
practical
touchdown.
punt fest.
Wait,
No,
no,
we
I
had
it
don't
was. It was.
see her.
It was Baker to Hollywood. That was the only
Yeah.
touchdown of the game, wasn't it?
Yes, in the
Yeah.
second quarter.
Yeah. I remember that game. Yeah. I remember.
And that
Don't
was
don't ask me how I
raining.
know these things because
You're
was
sick.
like-
You are like
it was
Rain Man.
torrential
Buffalo the Rain
rain.
Man.
And you remember when if you guys have the chance, look up that game-winning field goal. It was the ugliest kick ever. It looked like a dead duck just flapping in the air, and it still went in. It was just so weird. I mean, we won the game, and that was the very last game that we
Hugh
played the
Jackson
Ravens before. And yeah, Hugh Jackson was still the head coach, and that was the
You-
last game before Lamar Jackson officially became the starter for the Ravens. I want to say,
I think
Yeah.
it went-
and
I think it went in because Flacco got hurt, right?
yes, Flacco had gotten hurt, and that's when he made his official debut.
Flexing a little bit.
And actually, that was the second to last game before Carlos Hyde got traded.
Yeah, because that was wasn't the Falcon? Wait, what was the game that we played where Nick Chubb burst for that 90? What was it?
That was
96?
Falcons.
The Raiders.
92
That was the
yard.
Falcons.
Oh, that one. I
Yeah,
thought you were
that
gonna say,
was
like,
the-
the 3 rushes.
That
for,
was
like,
the last
140.
game that Carlos Hyde was played.
I want to say it was the Chargers game that Carlos Hyde played, and then he got traded. Carlos Hyde, I don't think, was in the Falcons game. I don't think.
I think that was Nick Chubb's first start, wasn't it?
I don't remember. Hold on.
I can't remember.
I'm gonna just look it up real quick. We'll figure it
Yeah,
out.
go ahead, Zach. Yeah.
And right back after this commercial.
Browns 28.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Do you like bananas? Do you like brown bananas or
Were
yellow?
you
Oh,
injured?
man.
Well, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but it's just, especially with these Ravens games, I was like looking back through in the Stefanski era, and I mean, outside of one game in 2020, they've all been relatively low scoring games, with the highest being like in the low 20s. Like it's I mean, they got a top 10 defense right now, and then a top 5 rushing attack. So I really do think that the John Harbaugh is just gonna play the same old game that he's been playing. You know, keep the ball in their possession, win with special teams, and just not making mistakes. So I think we're gonna be now. We're going to talk about this later, but I really do think that it's going to be a very close game, and it might get a little bit ugly.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
So you were 100% right. It was the Chargers game was the last one. Yeah, because Falcons, I remember he blew that huge one. Just that was an insane run. But yeah, I mean, Carlos. I think we forget that Carlos Hyde even played on the Browns. You know, like it's crazy.
Kind of like
We want
Ben
to all
Tate.
forget. We want to all just forget.
Like Ben Tate, bro. Who's more forgettable, Ben Tate or Carlos Hyde?
Ben Tate.
Carlos
easily.
Hyde for me. Really?
Yeah.
Bruh.
Well, yeah,
Man.
because everybody knew Carlos Hyde because he was the one guy that was holding back Nick Chubb.
And he was
That's
Ohio State.
true.
And he was Ohio State Buckeye.
Yeah,
That's a fair. Yeah, that's a fair point. I guess I remember
Wow.
Ben Tate from the Bengals game in 2014 that Christian and I went to.
that's-
He went off that night. I was in love with him that day.
No,
But-
dude, we had 3 running backs go off that night. If you remember.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, the baby
Ben
backs,
Tate.
dude.
Yeah.
Terrence West.
Isaiah Crowell
Crowell.
and Terrence West. Yeah.
They all went off. But yeah, speaking of this game, what are some things that are like keys to success on the offensive side and the defensive side of the ball? We'll start with you, Mac. What are some like keys to success? that you
So in terms of facing this Ravens game, the big thing is they, just to simply put, they got to stop the run, and they got to put this offense behind the 8 ball. Now, what do I mean by that? So we're talking they have to get less than 3 yards a carry first and second down, and set the Ravens up for a 3rd and long. Because especially with the uncertainty of Odell Beckham, going into this game, he was out last week. He's questionable this week. Lamar still has a problem throwing those out routes and throwing those corner routes, and anything outside of over the middle or a deep bomb down the sideline, he just doesn't have that accuracy. And the other key that I would say on defense is they have to take advantage of the turnovers, because Lamar, while he is great, he turns the ball over, and I mean, it's usually not interceptions, it's fumbles.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, I believe he has 4 fumbles on the year, and he's known for fumbling in the red zone. So, it can't be one of those things where it's like, oops, the quarterback fumbled. Oh, well, the Ravens just picked it up. No, like, we have to jump on that, because that's just going to be the key. Because if the Ravens win the time of possession, they're going to win this game. Now, offensively, they need to do what they've been doing, is just getting the ball out and letting their playmakers make plays. Now, I am looking at it. Kyle Hamilton, he had 2 sacks last week.
3.
3 sacks. Sorry.
I think he had 3.
Yeah, he had 3 last week.
He now has a back injury, so his status going into the game on Sunday is questionable. They need to take the top off the defense. They did have that big bomb to Amari Cooper, but so far this Browns offense hasn't been able to break everything open. They haven't been able to get Marquise Goodwin going. I don't know what's going on there. I think maybe it's a combination of him missing camp, and the timing just isn't there.
For sure.
And also they they flat out just need to go after this secondary. The Browns wide receiving group right now is talented and they are healthy. Now, while the Ravens have some dogs, in that back end, a lot of people are hurt. And there's a lot of
injury.
question marks,
Lots.
in terms of the injury report going on Sunday. So they have to take advantage of the fumbles on defense, and they have to take that top off of the secondary and open everything up. Because I don't want to sound negative, guys, but there's a lot of issues with the Browns rushing attack right now. Understandably so, when your workhorse for the past 5 years goes down, but they need to open up that entire offense and make things easier on Deshaun Watson, because one thing about this Ravens defense is they are fast and they can blitz and get after the quarterback. So the last thing that I want to see is this Browns offense in like a 3rd and 9 or longer, because, not saying Deshaun Watson can't overcome it, but they need to just make the game easier on her and easy on him. And they can't ask him to be Superman, because it just won't end up well. Not against this team.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. DM, what are some keys to success that you believe?
I think we have to hit them early. If we can force a few very short drives, and by that I mean either a couple 3-and-outs or maybe a first down and out, and find a way to put some points up early, I think that will kind of dictate how the game's going to go. But which I really think we're going to do. I think Lamar is going to get bottled up pretty well. I don't know who's going to run the ball for him. Who's going to be running for them, Mac? Do you know?
Looking at it, Justice Hill was out last week. So
Gus
it's going to be it's going to be Gus
Gus.
Edwards and Justice
Gus
Hill.
Bus.
Oh, okay. I didn't know Gus was. I thought he was.
Wow.
Yeah, but I mean, if they can't get something going, it could be a long day for them. Really, it's just.
Yeah, for
I don't know. Normally, I'm nervous about the Ravens game. I'll be down there and I'll be snapping some live tidbits as I usually get into the stadium about 11:30ish. So, I'll be kind of getting a feel for what's going on, and it just feels good. It just feels good after bouncing back from the Steelers. I mean, that just was everything to me. That saved our season. It renewed hope for everybody, and this is the least scared of the Ravens I've ever been in my whole life.
Heck yeah, DM.
Okay.
How about you, Jake?
Truthfully, I think right now our linebackers are going to have probably the best game of their life, truthfully. Not that they've been playing bad, but I think what the linebackers do can determine what Lamar Jackson ends up doing, because he's very unpredictable, of course, with the run game. And I agree with everything Max said with the fumbles and stuff. But if you watch Lamar Jackson run, he doesn't tuck the ball in like he's supposed to. He kind of holds it out, and then anybody within striking distance can just smack it. I mean, truthfully. And it seems like every time that JOK plays the Ravens, he has one of his best games. It's like he's like the guy when we play Baltimore.
Yeah.
I remember, was it last year or the year before? He hit a random tackle on Lamar and hurt his ankle by accident.
2021.
Yeah.
2021.
Season. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just a random tackle. It was not even a bad hit, and he went out. And then when Trace Huntley went in the game? I can't remember who went in the game, but yeah.
Yes, it would be Trey. Yeah, it would be
Snoop.
Huntley.
Yeah. Tyler Huntley. There you go.
Tyler, yep.
Yeah. So I think, of course, our defensive line is top notch right now. Our defense overall is playing lights out. I'm not saying they haven't been, but they've got to keep the foot or the pedal on, or the
foot on the pedal.
Yep.
Yeah. Can't talk today. My bad.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Keep bringing the gas.
Right now, Anthony Walker, believe it or not, he is 8th on PFF for linebackers, which is a big deal. He didn't get to play the Ravens either game last year at Baltimore or at home. I think Anthony Walker can be a difference maker. JOK, of course, like I said, he always has his best game against Baltimore. And believe it or not, JOK is 24th and Taki Taki is 37th right now, which it speaks volumes for Taki Taki since we thought he wouldn't even get to play early in the season. So that
Yeah.
does speak volumes for the linebackers. But
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
where I feel.
Awesome.
Good
How about you,
stuff.
Zach?
Yeah, so trying to digest everything everyone was saying. Yeah, I agree with Mac a lot on opening up the offense. I think the biggest issue, and this is something that I don't think is a personnel problem. I don't think it is necessarily a just any. I don't think it's a coaching staff problem. I think this is a Kevin Stefanski problem. If you saw last game, there were a lot of times, and I was on Twitter just livid constantly with and Mac. I think I said something to Mac while we were watching the game. I'm like, we need to stop with these stupid bubble screens. We need to stop with these little like end arounds and these jet sweeps. This is Kevin Stefanski getting too fancy, and in those situations, especially when you go up against teams like the Ravens and the Steelers, who they know what you're going to be. They know your game plan and they know you're going to be fancy. So enough of it, like I don't care if you're going out there and calling or shrinking your playbook and trying to take the top off of this with, 5-yard slants, 5-yard ins, hitches that to where you can at least get 5 yards instead of throwing a screen and having Elijah Moore have to do all of the work 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Wait a minute, Zach. Are you saying you don't like a jet sweep on 4th and 3 inches?
No, no. There's just listen. I get that Kevin Stefanski comes from that coaching tree of like trying to deceive a lot of it, and I'm all for it. If it works, people don't talk about it, but when it doesn't work, it's talked about. And for someone like Deshaun Watson, who a lot of his offense in Houston and even in college in Clemson was let's throw it behind the safeties, let's throw it down the sidelines, we can hit you over the middle, whatever it is. And another, part of this is we don't have that big of a run game right now. And I don't necessarily think it's that. I think is 100% the personnel. Now, if we have to, run 2-3 guys out there, that's fine. But we don't have to literally hand the football off to run the football. Give Elijah Moore or, Jerome Ford or whomever it is out of the backfield some time to go. You can't get these little, especially with fast defenders like the Ravens. I mean, you have Roquan Smith, you have Patrick Queen. I mean, guys that can drop back in coverage and can really hit you. And it looks like Marcus Williams is probably going to be good to go for the game.
Yeah.
These guys are going to hit you and they're going to hit you hard. And then one last point that I will say that I think is super, super important that we understand about this regime of the Browns defense is these linebackers are not the only guys that have to shadow Lamar Jackson. The way that Schwartz is attacked, just in our, in a guy like Kenny Pickett, or even watching Tannehill, or week 1 with Joe Burrow, watching different guys, these guys like Delpit and Thornhill, kind of, because we've only seen him play one game, that has been super, he's played a ton towards it, but McLeod, and I don't think Hickman's got in, but you also have, guys like Denzel Ward and Emerson, and these DBs that are big dudes that can't get after the quarterback. And to have safeties and linebackers that can back up and shadow guys like Lamar, it's just another thing that we're going to see, I think, this year specifically, that's going to just blow our minds, because our linebackers are not meant to be, Patrick Queen, Roquan Smith, big guys that are going to be pass rushers. That's just not necessarily who they are. These guys need to be more of that sideline to sideline. I need to get from one place to another faster than anybody else to get that tackle, so they get the fewest yards they possibly can.
Yeah.
And that's why we're seeing them thrive, is because they're actually being utilized in the ways that, they should be utilized. So those are super important parts.
That's a good point.
Yeah, for sure.
Max got something.
Well, so Zach had me thinking on something that I had written down while watching the Browns offense, versus Tennessee. While I did love the extension of the run game, some of it got too east-west, right? Too side to side. And especially with Chubb not being out there, they really have to do a long look at this running game. And what do they do well in the running game? It's power, ladies and gentlemen. It's pulling those tackles and those guards and coming around and gapping down instead of wide zone. It's one thing to do that against Tennessee because where their strength is in the middle. Okay, they have Jeffrey Simmons, they have great linebackers, but with this Baltimore Ravens, they're known for speed. They're known for sideline to sideline. They're known, for having more defensive backs on the field. So they need to run more north and south, and they need to get downhill. One thing that I don't understand is that, okay, watch every single designed run with Deshaun Watson. 90% of the time, it is a power play.
Yeah.
It is a Wyatt Teller, pulling and coming around the corner. Now, I won't go into a certain player, blocking down on the other side. And, we're not going to talk about it. But, if we're running those power plays for our QB, why aren't we running those for our running back? And just make the offense look the same. Take that Kyle Shanahan approach, right? Where every single blocking scheme is the same, because then the defense won't know what's coming at them. And I really do believe that if they want to get this ground game going, keep it simple and run these power plays because they work. So, just my 2 cents, but it's just too many times where they're running that wide zone and they want to hit the perimeter so bad, and it's just not there. And I do think that part of it is too, again, Jerome Ford missed camp, and we can see it. There's a lot of times where he's just not seeing the opportunity of when to cut up on the perimeter, and he keeps trying to bounce it outside. I just think that a good way to get him going and get this running game going is pull those big guys up front and have somebody escort you for a first down or a touchdown. So,
yeah, for sure. So I think that the Browns defense is going to have to show up even more than they have the past 3 weeks. And I think that they will. I think the front four, I'm very confident in the front four. I don't think that they'll put half the rushing yards that they put on other people this year, because I think this is the best defense that they faced all year. I'm looking at who they played this year. They played the Texans, the Bengals, and the Colts without Anthony Richardson, and they lost to Gardner Minshew. So I think this is the best defense that they played, and I'm very excited.
They lost,
for that.
and Lamar struggled.
Yeah,
he struggled mightily in the backfield.
And I'm not gonna say this to sound like whatever, just because the Browns defense shut them out. But if you go back and look, last week, week 2, Ryan Tannehill completed 80% of his passes against the Chargers. Chargers got a decent defense. Like, it's not a slouch defense. They're supposed to be contenders. They were in the playoffs last year. For him to complete 80% of his passes and the very next week get shut down like that, like, it didn't even look like the same quarterback. And it's not like it's just him. Like, the only reason Kenny Pickett even had a touchdown on this week 2 was because of a blown coverage.
Yep, Thornhill, Pickens.
Like, that's the only reason we've allowed a touchdown this year.
It's Thornhill's first game. For sure.
Yeah, and I'm not even gonna really put that on the defense that happened. But I think that this defense is gonna have to show up, and I think that they're gonna have to put some points on the board, because I do not think I like where our offense the way our offense looked last week. But I'm very scared that if the offense doesn't put up at least 2 touchdowns, I don't think we win this game, because I think that this is going to be a very fought out defensive battle. And if our defense doesn't show up and doesn't put at least just shut them down for at least one half, and hold them to
hopefully
at least
first half.
Yeah, like, just hold them at least scoreless in one half. I don't think we'll win this, because I think our offense will struggle again.
Well, let's not beat around the bush, though. Like, this team goes as Deshaun Watson goes now.
Yeah.
It's no longer a Nick Chubb thing. So
Nope.
if we want to win this football game, Deshaun Watson has to come up and
Mhm.
put up and just silence everybody.
Yeah,
Because
for
these
sure.
are the games that people like the big heads and all those in our local media and the critical people against him are going to sit there and say, if you ball out, you're the guy. But if you pull out a Steelers type performance,
Yeah.
then it's going to be rough for you, especially because you play them twice a year for the next 4 years. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Zach
And-
said last week, you think we turn fast on Baker Mayfield. You wait. Deshaun Watson has 2 or 3 bad games in a row, and
Yeah,
they'll be calling for his head.
for sure. And
oh yeah,
one thing that I've noticed too is that this defense, it looks a little more, I'm not gonna say
they elite?
aggressive. Oh yeah, they're elite. This defense is elite. I don't care what anybody says. Like, I know that it's only 3 games. Like, they're already putting historic numbers up. But
Yeah.
I could tell a difference in the way that the defense did play in week 1 and week 3 than they did in week 2. And I'm not just saying that to be whatever.
well,
But-
home field, man.
I mean, we were down
The
7.
dog pound was
Oh,
roaring. And I think that they play very in tune with the crowd.
Yeah.
And I think Jim Schwartz has them boys like, we got to hold our own. These people
Yeah.
don't pay all this money, work these excruciating hours to pay this money to come down here and watch some garbage defense like they have the past 3 years.
Yep.
Jim Schwartz got them boys on the line, hyped. And like Myles Garrett's out there having fun. Like you can tell that guy's having fun. When he's like running across the field, having 2 tight ends follow him. and
That's
Jim
hilarious.
Schwartz is just smiling like, bro,
Yeah,
like the
watching the
swag
play
is in
clock the whole
Cleveland
time.
defensively.
That was brilliant.
And I'm
Well,
hyped.
well, their whole mentality has changed.
It's
I mean,
it's
you know,
amazing.
even
It's culture.
even
That's
with
what culture is.
yeah, and like even when they had that spurt in 2021 where they had a very good defensive stretch, it was still a bend don't break defense, right? It was we're going to play really hard on first and second down, and then we're going to run cover 4 and then just run shell, right? Just make sure that nobody gets behind us and keep everything in front of us. No, with Jim Schwartz, they're making you earn every single yard. No longer is the flat open on every single pass play.
Thank
No
God.
longer are we going to see, dump plays over the middle to a running back or a tight end that's wide open for 5 yards. I mean, historically, when we're looking at this defense is putting up numbers that this franchise has never seen before.
Never.
And it takes a bit to go back, like pre 1999, but even just looking at the
Those
team
were
coming
some great
back,
defenses too.
looking back from when this franchise came back to Cleveland, only 4 times in the history of this post 99 franchise has a Browns defense held their opponent to under 150 total yards. It's 4 times, and twice has it happened this year.
Yeah.
Damn,
You
big
know,
stat right there.
I mean,
Big
we're
stat
talking
alert.
about like if they keep up with what they're doing, like in terms of per game
Wait, Are
stats,
you saying
we're
they might be
looking at.
the best defense ever?
Well, I mean, statistically, that's what it would show. Because
Okay,
you're only
hold
allowed-
up, hold up,
if
hold
you
up, hold
run-
up. Hold up.
I'm
I got a
saying
question. I got a question. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm not sorry, actually. I'm just going to say this. You guys can just look at me like I'm an idiot because I know I am. It's okay. But I don't know if you guys watched Monday Night Football and
Yes.
saw the Los Angeles Rams. They
Yeah.
dudded against the Bungles. And you know what happens to garbage teams when they have a lot of bad contracts, not bad contracts, just expensive
Oh,
contracts.
man, I
And they
know where
start
you're
to,
going.
let's say a certain
99.
somebody hits the market.
No,
Aaron
Put up 99
Donald.
back
No.
on your thing.
no.
So you interrupted my whole like thing where I was going to present facts for this like hypothetical trade.
Yes.
Man, that was
That's what you did,
cool.
Ward.
No.
That wow.
Huh? I don't care. Listen, man. Imagine.
on a cheese
Imagine. We're talking the best. I heard Dave mention the best defense ever.
No.
You throw Aaron Donald
Nope.
on the
No,
line.
it's not worth with what they're going to be asking.
Thank
not-
you.
And we need more help offensively than we
Oh
do
my
defensively. I don't want
Thank
to change anything with our
you.
defense, if I'm being honest.
No, I'd rather have this defense
Yeah.
gel and continue to play than
You don't think that they would get even more hype to have Aaron Donald? Miles
no.
Garrett, and
I don't
Zadarius
think
Smith?
I don't think these guys look at it that way. I think they look at it as, are you going to show up and do your job? Because the past couple of years under Joe Woods, everybody's been like, I hate this dude. I don't like this guy. Who's the leader in the room with Jadeveon Clowney, who I really hope this week we just stuff him to where he can't move. Because the way he left and the way he did his things, listen, bygones being bygones, I didn't like that. Bad taste in the mouth. But yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Anyway.
like statistically, like it's even shown about how much like effort and imposing their will that this defense does compared to last year. If they keep up their in-game averages, they're looking at 19 less missed tackles, over 200 yards less of yards after the catch. And what was the other one? We're looking at roughly about 20 more run stops per Pro Football Focus. So they're doing things on defense, and you can hit me with, these are just first 3 games, but using the same data from last year, I mean, they were giving up hella numbers against Baker Mayfield, Joe Flacco, and Mitch Trubisky. And the 3 quarterbacks that they face this year
Marcus
is
Mariota as well.
well, yeah,
And that run
in
game.
the 5th game.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they ran 17
So-
straight times against us in that Falcons game. That was crazy.
Yeah, and that's just flat out not going to happen this year. And it's the biggest one that like the biggest improvement in terms of player from year to year that I'm seeing this year is Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, because
Monster.
as nobody really talked about it a lot last year, but everybody just said, oh, well, JOK is just not good because he's skinny and he just gets hurt a lot.
Right.
What's up with his ankle?
Yeah.
No, the problem with wasn't
Oh,
he
Uh-oh.
liked to
No.
backdoor
Oh, wait,
a
wait.
lot of plays.
you
Wait,
went
wait,
here.
you just dipped out.
Go back in. Restart. Problem
So-
with JLK.
Fix your hair.
Okay.
Problem with
Back,
JLK.
back all the way back to who you
Your
are.
hair, dude.
Okay. All right.
All the way back.
Um,
Set your glasses.
So glasses. You're funny, Dave. No, I know, because I fidget with my glasses a lot. That's but anyway, so Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, everybody when they would talk bad about him, they would say, oh, well, he doesn't have enough weight on him. He can't shed blocks. He can't stay healthy with his ankle. But the real problem with him on the field was just simply he would backdoor a lot of gaps. He wouldn't, instead of taking his blocker, head on or the closest shoulder to the ball carrier, he would try to just go behind him, and just make the play with his speed, with his legs. But a lot of times what that did is that left open holes in the run game, especially the biggest one that I would circle is the one against Buffalo. I believe that there was a 50 or a 60-yard run by it was either James Cook or Zach Moss. But it was because JOK hopped out of his gap, and he didn't keep that integrity. But you look at him this year on tape, and he's at the ball every single time. And it's
Yeah.
and that's the part that I really love about this defense is that guys are in their gaps and they're right there when the ball carrier is.
They are
So
swarmers
even
to the ball.
if they just miss the tackle, they're still slowing the guy down and they're making him earn his yards. Like this,
Mhm.
ball carriers have to run through this defense, not around, not run by. They have to run through it. And
Mhm.
I'm excited to see what they do against the Ravens, because as good as this run defense is, they're going up against one of the best run offenses. So, now a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, neither team is going to score 24 plus points, so it's not that exciting. But for a football nerd like me, and seeing 2 powerhouses on offense running the ball, on defense stopping the run, clashing, I'm very excited for this matchup, because it's going to tell us exactly how good
Yeah.
this run defense is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think home field advantage is going to help us tremendously too.
Oh yeah, for
Sunday.
sure. The dog pound getting loud.
Yeah, it's going to be
Getting
loud.
loud.
One
Zach,
more-
are
one
you
more
going down
thing.
there?
No,
No.
but no, I'll be here watching it and cheering my Brownies on.
I'll be.
Well, one
Oh,
last thing
Oh, go
about
ahead. Go ahead.
JOK. There's a couple things I've observed this year. He's definitely put on muscle. You can tell he's a bigger guy. He's breaking a lot. You know, instead of just hitting through holes and going from behind the tackler or the lead ball, whatever it is, he's going through people now, which is big time. And I mean, listen, the guy, this is third year in the league. I mean, some people need to relax. I mean, these guys' bodies are not full product, end product things right out of college all the time. But the other thing I think we have to understand about what Mac's point is that yes, his gap integrity wasn't as great as it was last year, but think about how great it is to trust that there's a guy behind you that's covering your ass. And if you miss that tackle, someone's going over you to get that tackle as well. Like you have Anthony, you have Anthony Walker behind you, or you've got a Delpit that's coming in behind you, or a defensive tackle that's coming in and saying, "Hey, I got you, dude. No worries." Or Taki, whoever it is that's on the field, they have the trust in each other, which is something
swarm
that
to the ball too.
Joe Woods just could not do, and that pisses me off more than anything. But for another time.
So I've got an interesting stat. So the Browns are 2-1 this year. In
Yes.
the 2 wins, my girlfriend has watched the games, and the one game we have lost, she has not watched. So I'm blaming the loss on her.
It seems very rational of you to do that.
So
Yeah.
Shelby, I know you're
Hey,
watching.
you remember what
have
you
to
asked
watch
me?
week 4.
That's not
Okay.
superstitious at all.
Christian,
I'm
I don't
not
think that-
superstitious.
That's not even a little,
just a little stitious.
stitious. Yeah, just a little stitious.
Yeah, a little stitious.
yeah.
That's my cousin you're talking about, dude.
Yeah, see,
Come
there
on.
you go. See, I was gonna say, remember when you asked me for advice the other night, Christian, about things, and I'm not gonna get too specific, but I would have told you that was probably not the best comment to make.
Hey, all I'm saying is 2-0. 2-0 when she watches.
Okay.
Well, hey, dude, maybe she.
Poor Chelsea.
Who knows?
Who's Chelsea?
Shelby.
Man, you had it going real good too, and right up here, you fumble it right here on September.
He has no idea. He has no idea.
All
no.
right, we're gonna get into score predictions.
Oh man.
Least
so-
favorite part of this whole thing.
Yeah.
So before we go, guys,
Come on,
remember,
Zach, get
drop
crazy.
it in the comments, tweet at us, send us a message, predict this score. If you get it right on the dot, we don't do any of these
God.
halvesies or almost. They only count in horseshoe and hand grenades. So drop your score predictions. If you get it right, we'll send you free merch.
Yeah. All right, Mac. Go ahead. Start it off.
Oh man, you're gonna start with me. Okay. Again, like I was saying earlier, I really do think that this is going to be a close game. There's only been really 2 times that I can remember off the top of my head to where a Browns-Ravens game resulted in a blowout, and that would be the home opener or the season opener in 2020, and then the game in Baltimore in 2019. So with that being said, I think, you're going to see 2 good defenses. I'm going to say 24-18 Browns. I think the Browns are a healthier team. I do really think that they are going to stack their offensive performance that they did last week, and they're going to get things going. I think that we're going to see an offense that is going to click very well, and we're at home, and that Browns defense plays very good at home.
Close to Claire and Drew's score predictions as well. Close.
All right.
A lot of people picking 24 points for the Browns. Interesting.
Yeah. How about you, DM?
Well, let me ask you, when they blew out the Ravens in 2020, did the defense look anything close to what we have right now?
Mm-hmm.
Nope. And I don't care what anybody says. I still hold firm that Pittsburgh game was a blowout because you reversed those 14 points and we blew them out. And I think they're going to blow out the Ravens again. Now, it's probably not going to be too crazy, but legitimately, I think it's 27-10. I think Tucker gets a field goal, and I think maybe Lamar gets in one time, but not too much.
Wow.
And I think it's a 17-point win for the Browns at home, who are given 2 per Vegas, by the way.
Heck yeah. How about you, Jake?
Well, before I go through this prediction, we need to reiterate that this is a very important game for the season, not only because it's a divisional game, but because after this game, we get a bye week. And after the bye week, we've got San Fran at home. And then after San Fran, you've got the Colts, the Seahawks, and the Cardinals. If we pull off this win, you've got the bye week to rest, and then you can essentially feel comfortable winning 3 out of the next 4. And our expectations can't get too high with what is probably right now the best team in the NFL being the San Francisco 49ers. But overall, I say that we win this game 21-10, maybe 17-10. It's going to be one of those drives where we should have scored a touchdown, but instead we kicked the field goal. I'll say 21-10, but if it's 17-10, then I won't be shocked.
I like the 10, though. I like the Ravens to 10. That's strong.
I am well known to. I don't bet on the Browns. I don't.
You don't
bet
have a good
against
look on your face.
I do not. I don't give you score, but I'll tell you this: is that some points will be scored and some points won't be scored, and that's all I'll say. Okay, I cannot bet.
Everybody tweet Zach for a score.
Listen, I'll leave my listen. If they hold them to 10 points, I will be pleasantly surprised because
Will you shotgun a bank?
Yeah, will you do a bang, Zach?
can't do a bang.
What about a
How
Red
about a
Bull?
V8? Will you shotgun a V8?
How about
Close.
a large? No. How about this? A gallon of milk.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, that's physically impossible.
Why would you want to kill your
No,
friend? dude?
you
That's
just
not right.
shotgun it. You don't have to drink it all. You just drink some.
Yeah, and then
Protein,
we watch
baby.
Zach vomit on live
Muscle.
TV. That's
No,
not
I'm
good.
good. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, I'd
Okay.
rather not watch somebody puke.
Especially white milk.
Yeah, no, that's just gross.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
gross.
So my score prediction is Browns 4,322.
Yes.
Baltimore -35
How do you have negative points? What do you
Huh.
do? Run it.
because the defense is gonna be so good.
Yeah.
And
All right.
if you liked what you heard tonight, because LeBron James did, go check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter.
Twitter.
Check out our merch.
Check out our
With the
merch.
Browns.
Hell yeah.
And if you don't like us, we don't care. Have a
Here
great
we go,
night.
brownies. Here we
There
go.
we go.
All right, come on, bro.
One more time.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Atta-
Buff.
Attaboy Buff. And go
Good night,
Browns.
everybody.
Go Browns.
Yeah.